This is how a woman should be warmed up during sex. But let me be clear from the beginning, this isn't a conversation about techniques, positions, or performance. This is a conversation about presence, power, and permission. This is about connection, not conquest. This is about how a woman's heart, body, and soul deserve to be honored, not just in the bedroom, but in life. Most people think sex starts with a kiss, a touch, a glance, but for a woman it often starts hours earlier, maybe even days earlier. It starts when she feels emotionally safe. It starts when she feels respected. It starts when her spirit is nourished, not just her skin. Because you see, a woman isn't a switch to be flipped. She's a flame to be tended. And if you want her fire, you must first be willing to feel her warmth, not just ignite it for your own needs. Touch her mind before you ever touch her body. That means listening not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your energy, your intention. Do you notice her when she walks into a room? Do you pay attention to her silence as much as her words? Do you ask how she feels and actually care about the answer? Because foreplay doesn't begin with your hands. It begins with your presence. Warm her up by being fully here. Put your phone down, look at her, see her. Let her know she's not a background detail to your day. She's a center stage experience in your life. Warming her up is not just physical, it's emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. It's in the way you hold space for her. It's in the way you admire her not just when she's dressed up, but when she's vulnerable, tired, even messy. Let her know she's enough, not when she's performing, not when she's perfect, but just as she is. A woman blooms in the warmth of non-judgment. She opens in the light of trust. She surrenders when she knows you're not here to take from her, but to meet her. You see, women are naturally intuitive. They can feel the difference between being desired and being devoured. They can feel when the touch is connected to affection and when it's only connected to ego. So if you want to warm her up, begin by checking your own intentions. Are you there to give, to feel her, or are you there to fulfill something selfish? Because when a woman feels used, her body might comply, but her soul will retreat. And trust me, the greatest intimacy happens when her soul shows up too. Talk to her, not just about chores or bills or logistics, but about what lights her up. What scares her, what she's dreaming about, ask her. What makes you feel most alive? What makes you feel most loved? What makes you feel most like you? And when she answers, don't interrupt, don't fix, don't joke it away. Just listen, that's foreplay. Do you know what turns a woman on more than anything else? Feeling understood. Feeling like she doesn't have to explain herself all the time. Feeling like she can just be, without hiding, shrinking, or performing. A woman should be warmed up by truth, by authenticity, by energy that says, you are safe here, you are sacred here, I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. When you warm her up like that, her body becomes poetry, but don't rush. Please don't rush. She's not a microwave. She's a sunrise. Let her unfold, let her soften. Let her feel her way into her own body at her own pace. You're not trying to get her anywhere. You're simply holding the space for her to arrive. And when she arrives, really arrives, it's breathtaking. When a woman feels safe, her body speaks a different language. It doesn't just respond, it reaches back. It doesn't just submit, it participates. That's not just sex. That's connection. But the preparation begins long before the bedroom. Are you affectionate during the day? Do you brush your hand against hers in passing? Do you kiss her forehead just because? Do you whisper love in her ear when there's no agenda behind it? That's the language of intimacy. That's what builds anticipation. You warm a woman up with curiosity, with admiration, with genuine affection that doesn't demand something in return. When a woman feels adored, not just for how she looks, but for who she is, her body becomes an expression of joy, not obligation. And that, my friend, is the difference between performance and passion. Warm her up with consistency, with honesty, with kindness when you disagree, with presence when she's anxious, with support when she doubts herself. Warming her up is not just for sex, it's for life. It's how you walk beside her, not ahead of her or behind her, but with her. A woman's sensuality is not a faucet you turn on. It's a river you must earn the right to swim in. And how do you earn that? By showing up fully, consistently, and with care. By seeing her not just as your partner, but as a whole world waiting to be explored with reverence. If she trusts you, her body will melt into yours. If she feels honored, her heart will open like a blooming flower. If she feels cherished, her soul will rise to meet yours. That's the kind of intimacy that changes people. That heals past wounds, that rewrites old narratives, that turns sex into sacred connection. Let's stop teaching boys that getting laid is a trophy. Let's start teaching men that helping a woman feel safe, seen, and spiritually aligned is the real gold. Let's stop asking how to make her moan louder and start asking how to make her feel more loved. Because when a woman feels loved, the moans take care of themselves. Let's stop measuring intimacy by climax and start measuring it by connection, by breath, by energy. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. You don't need to memorize a list of tricks. You just need to memorize her rhythms, her fears, her desires, her stories, what makes her laugh, what makes her breathe differently, what makes her body lean in, and what makes her body pull away. That's your roadmap. That's your compass. And if you're lucky enough to have a woman who trusts you, don't take it for granted. Understand what a miracle it is to be chosen by someone who has been hurt before, who still says yes to love, to vulnerability, to closeness. Her yes is sacred, her body is sacred, her time is sacred, her energy is sacred, so warm her up with reverence. Warming her up isn't just about arousal, it's about awakening, helping her remember that her body isn't an object, but a temple. That her pleasure isn't a favor, it's her birthright. That her voice in the bedroom is just as powerful as it is outside of it. Let her speak, let her lead sometimes, let her take the reins if she wants, and when she doesn't, guide her with gentleness, not force. With clarity, not control, with passion, not pressure. Because sex is not something you do to a woman. It's something you co-create. It's a dance, a dialogue, a divine exchange. When it's real, it becomes a portal into each other, into healing, into something bigger than both of you. That's what warming her up should lead to, not just orgasm but expansion, not just friction but freedom, not just pleasure but presence. Let her feel beautiful, not just when she's naked, but when she's being real. Let her feel wanted not just when the lights are off, but when her guard is down. Let her feel powerful, not because you gave her permission, but because you reminded her of who she already is. So yes, this is how a woman should be warmed up during sex, by holding her heart before her hips, by loving her mind before her lips, by honoring her soul before her skin. And if you do that, if you really do that, you won't just have sex. You'll have magic, you'll have fire, you'll have a woman who's not just physically turned on, but fully alive. And that, dear listener, is a warmth that will burn long after the night is over. Most women don't crave just physical contact, they long to be seen, held, and understood first. Because for a woman, real intimacy isn't skin. Deep it begins far beneath the surface. The real warm-up doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the way you speak to her when no one's watching. In the way you look at her like she's still the most fascinating person in the room, even after all this time. It starts in the little things, the softness in your voice when she's tired, the way you hold her hand not to lead her, but to walk beside her, the way you remember the story she told you 2 weeks ago because you were actually listening. You see, her body responds to how she feels emotionally, mentally, spiritually. If she doesn't feel seen, her heart won't open. If she doesn't feel safe, her body won't surrender. Words matter, tone matters, presence matters. When you pause your world just to lean in and ask, how are you really? That's a warm-up. When you notice the tension in her shoulders and massage them without her asking, that's a warm-up. When you tell her she's beautiful at 7 a.m. in messy hair and an oversized tee, not because you want something, but because you mean it, that's a warm-up. It's the emotional safety that invites her into sensuality. It's the consistency that lets her exhale. And once a woman feels emotionally held, she naturally opens not out of obligation, but out of trust. That's when intimacy becomes effortless, not because of technique, but because of truth. When a woman knows she matters not just for what she gives, but for who she is, her body becomes a sacred space of connection. Not a battlefield, not a performance, but a home, and that kind of warmth, that kind of intimacy, it can't be faked. It's earned through presence, patience, and deep respect. Warming a woman up isn't about technique, it's about attention. Deep, present, intentional attention. Not the kind that scans her body looking for a reaction, but the kind that studies her soul with reverence. It's about tuning into her, not just what she says, but what she doesn't. It's about hearing the pauses between her words, reading the language in her body, and feeling the energy she carries even in silence. It's not about perfect moves, it's about sincere presence. It's listening with more than your ears. It's listening with your hands, your eyes, your patience, your stillness. When you slow down enough to really feel her, you'll notice the subtle shifts, the way she exhales differently when she starts to feel safe, the way her body softens when she knows she's not being judged, the way her eyes light up when she feels desired not just physically, but deeply. Because when a woman feels safe, when she feels truly valued, when she knows she's not being rushed or used or analyzed, she opens. But not just in her body. She opens in her heart, in her spirit, in her presence. Her body stops being something guarded and becomes something offered. Not out of duty, but out of desire. And that's where true intimacy lives. In that sacred place where her body becomes an extension of her soul. Where she doesn't just allow your touch, she welcomes it. Where her pleasure isn't just physical, it's emotional, energetic, even spiritual. So if you really want to warm a woman up, forget the checklist of techniques. Focus on her essence. Ask yourself, does she feel seen right now? Does she feel emotionally held? Is she melting into the moment or trying to manage it? The answers to those questions matter far more than any physical move ever will. Because once a woman feels truly cherished, once she feels like her presence is enough, her whole being responds. She doesn't just make love, she becomes it. To truly warm a woman up is to awaken her, not just her body, but her worth, her voice, her fire. Because real intimacy doesn't start between her legs. It starts in the space where she remembers who she is. In the space where she doesn't feel small, silenced, or used, but seen, heard, and ignited. You see, a woman isn't just a body to be touched, she's a force to be witnessed. And when you warm her up with love, with patience, with reverence, you're not just preparing her for pleasure, you're inviting her back into her own power. You're reminding her that she is more than curves and softness. She is wisdom, intuition, radiance, and strength. When you take the time to nourish her soul before you reach for her skin, something magical happens. She doesn't just respond to you as she rises. She reconnects with the parts of herself the world may have dimmed. She remembers that she is not here to just please or perform. She's here to feel, to express, to be fully alive. It's not about what you do to her. It's about what you help her rediscover within her. Her sensuality, her truth, her voice that says, I deserve to be loved with care. I deserve to be held with depth. I deserve to be seen fully. That's what makes this sacred. That's what separates empty sex from embodied connection. Because when a woman feels awakened, when her pleasure is matched by her empowerment, you're no longer just sharing bodies, you're sharing transformation. That's not just intimacy. That's alchemy, that's soltus, all contact, and in that space nothing is faked. Nothing is forced, nothing is missing, because in that space she is free, and that is power.